Take a look at verse 15. He says, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. Now, friends, this reference to hot and cold is kind of lost on us today, but back then, if you're the church in Laodicea, you know exactly what Jesus is talking about. Take a look at this map here. You can see Laodicea in the middle there. Right above it to the north was a city called Hierapolis. And to the southeast was a city called Colossae, where we get the book of Colossians. Now, check this out. Hierapolis was known for its hot springs. Colossae is known for its cold springs. Guess what the water supply is like in Laodicea? It's lukewarm. It's room temperature. And so, friends, if you're the church in Laodicea, Jesus starts out his letter like this. You can imagine that you're thinking, oh, Jesus is talking about our water supply, which he is making a reference to that. But as we're about to see, he's actually talking about their spiritual condition. Take a look at what he says next. He says, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. Friends, this is the part in the letter where Jesus starts to lay out this idea that the church in Laodicea was a church rife with apathy. He's saying, hey, you guys aren't passionate. You guys aren't excited. You don't have convictions. I wish you did. I wish you were hot. I wish you were cold, but you're not. You're indifferent. You're passive, you're apathetic, you're lukewarm, you're room temperature. Remember earlier we said that our guiding question is, how does Jesus view apathy? Take a look at how he describes and articulates his view of apathy in verse 16. He says, so, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. Now, friends, that is an image. You know, when you get married, there are a lot of wedding traditions that are associated with getting married. For example, I remember the day I got married, somebody's like, oh, we got to find something blue and something old and new. And I was like, what are you all talking about? And frankly, a lot of the wedding traditions I find strange. The strangest one, though, I think, is when somebody says, hey, let's take a piece of our wedding cake and let's freeze it for a year. And then on our 1-year anniversary, let's take it out and let's eat it. Anybody ever done this before? Some of you are ashamed to admit it. It's all right. You know, we got married. My wife said, hey, we should do that. We should freeze a piece of our wedding cake. And I said, well, Elaine, you can do that, but I'm not a leftover person. So if that's something you want to do, by all means, you can put it in the freezer. So she did. Roughly a year later, she pulled it out of the freezer. And she was excited, man. She opened up the tinfoil. She grabbed a fork. She dug in. She put it in her mouth. And immediately she ran over to the sink and spit it out of her mouth. And she was like, oh, that was the nastiest thing I've ever tasted. And I was sitting over on the couch like, I told you so. Now, friends, here's the thing. A year beforehand, that cake was delicious, right? That was some really good cake. But as it sat in the freezer for over a year, something about the contents changed to the point that when Elaine pulled it out, it was no longer pleasing to her. Rather, she was repulsed by it. Now, friends, in verse 16, how does Jesus view apathy? He's repulsed by it. The church in Laodicea had no passion. They had no excitement. They had no conviction. They were apathetic to the mission that Jesus had called them to be in the world. To love people, to feed people, to clothe people, to share their faith, and ultimately to be faithful to God. They didn't really seem to be interested in any of that. And so guess what Jesus is ready to do? He was ready to spit them out of his mouth.